Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Bible. I'm Sonny Childs. Well, something new for our Let's Talk Bible devotional times. We're calling this Poetry Week. You'll notice that it's being designated with a 1A. Tomorrow will be 1B. The reason for that is I got a lot of poems, I know, and I was thinking, we may do this more than once, and so the next time we have a Poetry Week, it'll be 2A, 2B, 2C, etc. I know. Mr. Organization, go ahead, call me that. You can also call me a wannabe poet. All of my poems are rather cheesy, but I don't know. At least they rhyme. I'll tell you what, those ones that don't rhyme, I struggle with that. I need rhyme. Today's passage is John chapter 13, verses 14 through 17. If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example, that you should do as I have done to you. Most assuredly, I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is he who is sent greater than he who sent him. If you know these things, blessed are you if you do them. So, read this passage some years ago, and it inspired my life. I've tried to make changes, etc., and then sometime later I wrote this poem. So here you go. Cheesy poem, Sonny Childs, 1. To be a great leader. A leader can do many things to show the worth his vision brings. With eloquence, he can explain in speech or song with sweet refrain. But often words cannot embrace the vision he's seen face to face. He needs a way to show them more. He wants to make their spirits soar. When leaders want their vision caught, sometimes the best way it is taught is not with props or fancy talk, but invitation for a walk. They reach the place to see the view. The teacher takes position new. The two now stand there side by side. The leader is no longer guide. With open hand, he points ahead to lessons that are best unsaid. As leader, he's thought very wise, 'cause students see with open eyes. I do think that there is some merit to the words within that poem. The best of leaders are those who don't necessarily verbalize or even write it down, but rather take their students by the hand and lead them, help them experience life. In this passage, John 13, Jesus offers at least 3 things. In order for a lesson to be truly learned by students, they've got to be required to take ownership of it. So there are these 3 things that Jesus says. Number 1, there's this phrase, for I have given you an example. Leaders lead from the front. It's kind of implied in the word. I recognize that it is possible for you to direct a group to a place, in a direction, that kind of a thing, without necessarily being in front. But a leader, by definition, is out front. And I think that generally speaking, you would find that to be a principle that holds true, which means that you're going to experience before they experience, which means that you have to be a person of experience. Years ago, I had a young man who came to me, and he was envious, I think, of the fact that I was blessed to speak before this large audience this night. And so he came up to me afterwards and he said, well, he says, I speak at a little congregation, but I don't do well. I do best in big audiences. And I thought to myself, son, you're going to have to move beyond that. I've spent the majority of my ministry speaking to audiences of less than 50 people. And if you want to lead, you got to get out in front, and you've got to be willing to lead whatever group it is that's willing to follow you towards the Lord's will. So there's a great element of humility there. Number 2, there's the second phrase that I saw, you should do as I have done to you. There is the example that is set. Hypocrisy ruins a leader's credibility quicker than anything else. If you're going to lead, you not only have to be out front, but you need to set an example that's worthy of our following. And then number 3, blessed are you if you do them. There's this blessing that's attached to those who would follow. A leader needs to understand that it's very, very important to offer blessings to those who are willing to take the risk, to take the responsibility, to invest energy in following after us. One of the greatest, I think, lessons a teacher can learn in a Sunday school class before a whatever audience is you must validate the responses that are given from the audience. Even if they aren't necessarily on topic or they're not the wisest response, they need to be validated because that person took a risk other than unlike the rest of the folks in the room. They stepped up and they actually verbalized, they put out their thoughts. You need to bless them. And you don't have to necessarily agree with them, but you need to bless them for what they've said. Well, there you go. To be a great leader, John chapter 13, 14 through 17. Hope you can appreciate that, be inspired by it. Next time, we'll look at another poem. This is Sonny Childs saying, "Be there," Matthew 16, 26. We are the Sonny Childs and Family Ministries, serving as missionaries to this great nation. Please pray for us and consider adding us to your missions giving.